Welcome back, everyone. Short break over, which means we can talk about our first BO3 of today. Of course, it is the one you refer to as the derby, the one that I think everyone at home will know. It's probably a lot closer than you'd think it is. Hookahs taking on Human Tripwires in our third play day, game number 1.
Yeah, I mean, this game, like I mentioned, it being a derby, they've played a lot against each other before, being the OGs of Polaris. Mentioned earlier, different rosters on the side of Human Tripwires. But again, I know we hype up the next game, but I do want to hype up this game because I honestly think it's going to go the whole way. I do think it's going to be
Yeah.
such a competitive, such a close series. I'm equally excited about now and for later.
I think you can get excited for different reasons as to the one later on, right? Maybe you're looking to more tenure and experience, but for this one, you know sparks are going to fly. You know they're leaving every part of them in the server today, and they're going to give it their all. Let's talk about Hookahs first and foremost, right? A roster, a team that has, had less change, has had less issues than obviously the opposition today in Human Tripwires in terms of just finding that core five that they can work with on a more consistent basis. These guys, have been around as long as I could talk, it feels like, in Valorant at least. And this is just going to be an exciting one. It's another split. It's another chance for these guys to kind of put their name in face value and show what they're made of.
Yeah, you touch on the least changes of the teams, and I do want to make that clear that it's just one change, right?
Yes.
It's just that one change. Radsky is now in, pretty much. Radsky is now in, and he is going to be, I think. Can I say that he is going to be the reason that Hookahs may dominate Polaris? I'm not too sure. But as a team, does he build or does he create a better team chemistry? I think these are things that we have to look at, because it's not always down to one person, right? One person, yes, could change the dynamic of a team, skill-wise. But mentally, I think, he might bring some, he might rock up to scrims with some absolutely incredible music blaring and everyone has like a 3-minute sing-song before. You don't know.
Yeah, and obviously it's a better fit for the team, right? Maybe he's not pound for pound going to be better than the best free agents in the world, but yep. I think we're looking at a consistent player. I think we're looking at a very valuable piece to this Hookahs puzzle, and that's what's important to the team, right? Is that they can find that correct fit and start building that mold to a very, very solid side. And 100%, right, they're going to be just continuing to try and provoke some of the teams towards the top end of the table, and obviously aim for them is obviously winning the event, but making playoffs would be a massive, massive plus for this side. And we could look at the flip side of things maybe a little bit more. And obviously we're going to have running some replays in the background here as we chat over a side that, last play day, it's a tough draw. Apex in your opening game is always going to be difficult. Yeah. Obviously they are 0-1, but something you'll note as we come out of these replays, on the right-hand side, this team's going to look very, very different to what it did in the replays yesterday compared to what we're going to see on screens in just a second.
Yeah, that's a very, very important point to pick up on, because we are... Oh, now I'm excited. I'm really excited. We are going to see the addition of Eccles and Polvi. And
yes,
straight away, I am going to say this is such a positive change. Just obviously, Eccles doesn't look like that, but when you look at Eccles as a player, he is going to be bringing incredible amounts of experience. I mean, He's traveled the world. He's traveled the world for Valorant. Obviously, yeah. If you don't know, he went over to 100 Thieves. Yes, it was a short period of time. Yeah. Unfortunately, and my heart goes out to him, but I think one of the biggest things that he's obviously picked up is that experience. And I keep on mentioning experience. I think this is going to be the make or break for some of these Polaris teams, because the experience on this team is just so much more than Hookahs.
Indeed. We always talk about the trials and tribulations that Human Tripwires have gone through. The last time we saw this team playing in an official environment, they've only kept one player translated into this new team. Yeah. And, if there was already little to no research to be had about this new roster and about what they're like, this just blows it all out of the water, right? They're like, yep, we're making even more changes just after the split starts. We're ready to bring our A game, which is going to be very, very interesting. Two individuals we wanted to highlight, right? We want to talk about Julius. We want to talk about Stacks. We want to be talking about those that can make a difference out in the round. So we are going to be talking about Devo and Mishu, of course, in the head-to-head. And we're looking, to be quite honest with you, at two very, very comparable players. They are not far off one another in terms of those raw stats.
Yeah, obviously, I feel like these are the most important stats when it comes to looking at head-to-heads. They're both the duelist players for either team, and you say it's so close. It really is so close. I mean, the ACS Mishu takes it by 10. You've got damage per round. He takes it by 5, and then the lower we go, I think the more in favor of Devo it's going to go. You know, you have the headshot percentage, which is 29.5, and for the amount of kills that Devo got in the last game, I mean, I think 29.5% headshot ratio is an absolutely incredible stat. And also being a duelist, first bloods, a duelist myself, first blood percentage is one of those things that you're looking at. And if you have an 18.8% first blood ratio, then against 11.9, I do think, Devo does take a little bit of the spotlight right here. But it's going to be interesting to see what Polvi plays. Because knowing about Polvi, he's a jet player, right? So,
right. So it's going to be difficult. It is right. It's very, very difficult. First and foremost, we can talk a little bit about the veto. We'll show you the maps in just a second here. Whether human Tripwires keep the same veto as before, that's another question that we don't know, right? Last game that they played, they banned Bind out first. The last game that Hukars played, obviously the first that they played, obviously against the Le Petit Bouffons, they banned Breeze. So I think there's going to be consistency with the Hukars side, but with human Tripwires, are we going to see the same veto as beforehand? I don't quite know how we stand in that sense. Are we going to see the same perm bans? Are we going to see similar picks? What is going to be the history between these two teams? Because, as you said, no doubt about it, there is some rivalry in this side, right? There is a matchup between the Danes in and about these teams that have had internal changes between them that makes this matchup a whole lot more interesting. So maybe there is a read. Maybe there is an understanding of what the veto is going to be like.
Yeah, I want to pick up on one thing you said there, because obviously you said that Hukars, they banned out Bind, right?
Yes.
That was in their last series. And they actually have the highest win percentage on Bind at 67%. Yeah. Yes, there has been roster changes, and yes, I am looking at, Hukars as a whole throughout their entire, being together as a team, but 67% win ratio on Bind is actually very good. And well, looking at the maps right now, it's kind of scary because Hukars, their win rate on Haven is 29%.
Definitely not the greatest. Definitely not the greatest of track records, right? Obviously, it's Hukars that start on the defensive side of the human Tripwires pick of Haven. We have Fracture second up as well. It's going to be a fun one nonetheless. And we'll just hold the veto here for just a second because, again, I want to talk about the bans a little bit more. Hukars' first ban is Breeze. Human Tripwires' first ban of Bind. So it has gone as expected. It feels like that there is some consistency in terms of what we're banning out, right? Because obviously, human Tripwires, they banned out Bind first last time. Hukars, they banned out Breeze first time. So at least there's going to be some consistency within the veto in terms of the beginning, but as for the maps, right, it feels very targeted, it feels very punishing, it feels like they kind of want to go for each other's throats in the early game to just try and get in the head, maybe play the mental game as well as, their own performance and carrying out their own contributions to this best of 3.
Yeah, I do wonder if there's some form of, like, gentleman's agreement that they're, let's ban Bind, let's ban Breeze. They're the maps that, when we come to the later weeks of Polaris, we obviously won't be seeing. So I do wonder if there's like most likely not, but some people might be like, let's just do it. Because I think you have to think as a player, right? Do you want to invest a lot of time and energy for these? At least I think it's going to be at least 2 more weeks or 3 more weeks. Is it worth investing all of that time? To then for the maps to then be gone. I think you have to weigh up times taken on their maps and time taken to actually learn more strats on the map versus potentially do we put that time into the new maps? We have Lotus and then we have the very minor changes to Split.
Yeah, no new maps just yet as well, as you said, right? Which is always going to be a one to deliberate about. Just a few moments until we get into Agent Select, so I'm going to ask the question that probably everyone wants to know. Obviously, talent predictions, we submit a little bit in advance just so we can have a chat about it here on the stream. Amidst the changes, amidst the veto, where's your mind taking you? You don't have to go with the prediction that we submitted earlier today. What are you thinking about this BO3?
Okay, so After seeing the roster changes, and as much as I do love Hookahs, and I do love their dynamic, and I love the dedication that they do put into the game, I'm going to have to say Human Tripwires are going to take this series. And I know that me and you both did say Hookahs, but I just think the addition of Eccles and Polvi, I just think is going to be incredible. And honestly, I did a tier list at the start, and I would put Human Tripwires a hell of a lot higher than I did have.
Yeah, I think if these changes are permanent as well, right? Like, if
Yeah.
we actually do see these guys stick for the rest of the split, certainly over time, I think the Human Tripwires side is going to mature into something better than it already is with that added experience, right? And I'm not saying experience is the missing factor from the previous Human Tripwires roster, but you can't deny that, as you said, Eccles traveling the world, Polvi has been around for so long and done so much with himself in Valorant that, you know, you can't make the argument against the fact that it's added experience on top of what they've already got. So certainly the case. I'm doubling down. I'm saying Hookahs are still going to beat them. You know, I've got to stick to my guns. I've got to keep the radiant crown on my head, and you know, I've got to keep the predictions up. So I'm hoping that's the case. But certainly, I think, you know, at least for the eye test now, it's going to be a lot closer than what it was before, right? And hopefully we move into agent select very soon, and we get to chat about the agents, because I do want to see, as you said, now with two duelists on a team, like how do we look at things here for Human Tripwires? You know, how do we put who in what role, and what does it look like as we head into our first map?
Yeah, it's one of them things where you have to weigh up what's going to be more beneficial, right? Devo is the star player of Human Tripwires, in my opinion. You know, when you look at his stats, he is an absolutely incredible Jet player, okay? And I know him that I know that him as a player, he is cracking when it comes to, you know, the aggression on Jet. But, well, we see them here, and I suppose there is our answer.
Indeed. Not a bad one. Human Tripwires opted for Devo on the Jet, obviously. I think Polvi filling the gaps, right? Ekis obviously on the Omen as well. The old Eccles, it's fun to see him back in the server. Is that even got Human Tripwires in his name? He's changed his name.
Yeah.
But before we even look, more commitment than the other players. Maybe it's just, you know, like because they've only just joined. I don't know. But look, man, more commitment. They've already chucked the 3 letters in front of their names. They're already committed to the Human Tripwires course, which tells me a little bit more than just this is a stand-in or this is just a temporary change. But this is looking a little more permanent than what they met the eye. Obviously for the Hookah side as well, Misha on the Jet, this is going to be a very fun. We talked about that comparison, and we even chatted about the head-to-head specifically for these two. So the Jets on both teams, we're excited to see that explosive engagement. Obviously it's still the Omen as well for both sides. A quick change up in terms of utility, right? It's the Sova instead of the Fade. We've still got the Breach. It's going to be fun to see how we go here in our first map of today. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, this is Polaris. This is map 1. This is game 1 of today. And as we head into it, of course, it's Hookahs that starts on the defending side.
Yeah, I think one thing I really wanted to mention actually was the fade on Eps, right? It's the fade versus the Sova, and I have a funny feeling that we're gonna see Human Tripwires going for heavy executes. You know, I feel like the fade over the Sova is so much more beneficial, especially on a map like Haven. You know, you've got the dog to clear the corners. I say dog, it's such a bad habit. It's such a bad habit because it isn't a dog.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
Yeah, you have it to clear the corners, and obviously you've got the Sova, who, yes, can recon backside, but then so can Fade, right? And then the other thing that I really wanted to touch on was Raze not being picked on Haven, because you do see Raze picked up so much on Haven. Just again, very similar, because the Boombot, you know, you can clear all the corners when you're pushing A short, for example. Oh, look at this.
I like this. Oh, there you go. Finally spotted out. I think he, the Spidey sense was a tingling, right? Didn't exactly ping him with the cam, but certainly had the idea. Devo wants to create space using that jet dash as a bit of an entry here, as Polvi will pick up first blood. It's Mishu's Sheriff to try and do the dirty work, but dashing into his death as Ekis will put him to bed. It's a Kimbo and Mars 2v4, and Hookahs having given up probably a bit of taste in their mouth here, because that could have gone a lot better as Human Tripwires just storm one in, and I think they'll have themselves the pistol win.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's more of like an execute comp, right? The second there's contact, they blow up, you know, they go for it. It's that contact play. Oh, Akimbo picking up Stanley there, making this round a hell of a lot more winnable. But they are taking CT control, which is very, very smart from them. Very smart.
Indeed.
What can he do?
3 HP as well. It's not even looking healthy for Akimbo. You know, in a 1v2 scenario, had he have been full, maybe the argument could be made. That spike so far ticked as well. Probably just looking for the exits, right? Pick up on the noise. Anyone going to run into my crosshair? The answer is yes. We'll scoop up a frag as well. 2 extra creds pocketed, and of course will die to the spike because he'll get less money if he saves it. So it's a smart decision made. And obviously Epps, doesn't matter if he survives or dies, they win the round, and it's human Tripwires 1-0.
Yeah, it's very important when you're in that situation like Akimbo was. You need to die to the spike, like you said. Otherwise, the credits you're going to have in the following round are going to be drastic. But it's nice that he got that kill, right? It's nice that he picked up that kill because that is 200 extra creds for the next round. And especially as this game is very heavily, and I mean heavily util based, I think those 200 creds is going to be very important. And when I say heavily util based, I mean, like, if you saw how they executed that, Eccles had such a perfect flash onto site. Such a perfect flash.
Yeah. I think it was really well set up by Devo, right? He obviously dashes in, Devo, excuse me, dashes into the back of the site, right? Causes the aim, the distraction to be taken to him as he dances around the default box, and then everyone else kind of pushes in, right? As you said, Eccles has a really nice flash. Everyone just kind of stunned, and human Tripwires are just going to walk into the site, right? It's everyone blind, everyone distracted, and it is a very easy pickup, of course, for Hookahs. Now, they suffer the consequence, right? They don't win the pistol. It's down to Sheriffs. It's down to a very light buy. You're kind of tangled in financial crisis, where, well, you know, if you go for a force buy, it's a bit silly because if you save your money, you can invest in the next. And so you kind of forfeit in a second round off of losing the first. And, you know, we've got to talk about these trade-offs early doors, especially on that defending side, right? I think this is one of few maps, if not the only map right now in rotation, that you would kind of favor the attackers more just because it's more even spread and you can put less defenders on each site. So Hookahs will definitely be considering that as well and know that the majority of their rounds are going to come in that second stint.
Yeah, like you mentioned, I think it being more of an attacking-sided map, that is very much down to, obviously, there being 3 bomb sites and not being able to spread your players out equally across them bomb sites, right? And this is one thing that I always stress to people, especially when they play Haven. As a defender, right? If you die on the defense, not only are you making an already difficult defense map harder for yourself, but you know, it's 4 versus 5, and that's one thing that I want to see. If we do get a pick early doors for human Tripwires, obviously this next round is going to be a kind of a throwaway round. But if we do get an early pick, what I want to see human Tripwires do is group up as a 5, reset, calm down, and then execute the site. Play it like it's a 5 versus 5. You know.
Obviously, still a tech pause here. Hopefully one that doesn't last too long. I think a couple of issues with one of the players. Something that, you know, kind of gets pushed aside quite easily. You know, get back in the server. Everyone's going to be ready. And just head into the next smiles for the human Tripwires side. And ultimately as well, right, for Hookahs, I think this is just understanding, as you said, this second round. Kind of know, subsequent to the first, you lose out massively here. You just have to take the underinvestment. You kind of let human Tripwires walk away with the second here. Of course, damage is good. But ultimately, your focus is going to be on round 3. That's where your mind's going to take you.
Yeah, and on the side of Hookahs, I would like to see them playing together on rounds like these. You know, I think it's very, very, very important that when you have rounds where you're not investing much into, it's power in numbers, right? It's power in numbers, especially when you don't have the credits to buy into the round. And what I do like is how human Tripwires, not only do they know that Hookahs are going to be on a bad buy, they're still taking it slow. They're still taking it very cautiously round these corners, taking that map presence. And again, it's super important on Haven, taking that map presence. Although, it did look like they were going to be going towards the A, but I think that's the reason they took the presence, right? We're going to have Eccles lurking up here, and they're getting ready for most likely a B take, and they're going to take A control. Okay, no, I am wrong.
Right there to say, Eccles pushed so far forward, like you kind of just have to commit to the A play in general. Like, even if there's going to be a double push from CT, you just know you've got so much spread and so much control that, you know, Spike can go down. You're not going to meet much resistance, excuse me. And ultimately now, you're looking at, well, it's an easy second, right? Again, it was about trying to gamble a little bit. You can see Hookahs kind of overpopulated that C side of the map, you know, put a player in garage, put a couple of players on the C site itself, and I think it was only the Sova that was left out towards A in defense, and even then it was not a great one. I think he was playing for the retake more than anything. It is a nice shot from Akimbo to start this retake off. Again, not expecting a round win, but damage is damage. And obviously you're subtracting Stanley out of the round. That's going to be a Spectre now in Mars Pockets. That's another lot of heavy shield that has to be bought into the next round. And overall, they're just going to try and make this a little bit more of an expense, a little bit more of a task for Human Tripwires to keep their money up. Yeah,
I don't really like how Stanley was kind of lurking, I suppose, especially when you know, well, that's a clear up. 2 kills. Yeah, I don't really like the idea when you go alone, right? When you know the enemies aren't going to be on the greatest buy. Obviously, we know they're not on a great buy. They may have forced and they may have shoved somewhere, you know, as 5. But I think the potential chance of losing that Spectre, which he did, and also it's quite brave of Eccles, to be honest, to walk up onto A site with a Bulldog alone and get that information. Obviously, it worked out for them, and they're going to start this main buy round off by going A again. Oof. They're trying to counter this. Now, this is something that is very important. They know that Human Tripwires take A long control, right? At least they've done that for the last 2 rounds. That's how they've entered onto the A site, by taking all of that presence. And right now, Mishu has countered that. They've played 3 on the A sites, but clearly, the deep position, they know no one's going A long.
The read is really nice. They were calling for the flash as well. Now we're going to be forced off the angle. And I mean, again, it was Eccles that was sent out to set the feelers, right? He was the one that TP'd obviously over the Cypher trip. We saw that happen. They just entered on out. They took the site. He obviously used his near sight to catch off anyone towards the A-Link. And with that, quite honestly, Hukars might even be considering a save in this position, right? Like, you've not really got too much money in your pockets. You know, this is a bit of a bonus with the Human Tripwires anyway. Do you really want to risk 5 Vandals into a round that, you know, you've looked so late into? Stanley, great first shot. Radsky, I'll have to say, as Polvi picks up a second, the retake certainly amping up to be something. But the problem is, Hukars have had a response to everything. But it's a great lineup from Devo. He's able to dash out, no time on the spike. David left really in no man's land. He'll go down no matter what, even though he takes Polvi with him. It's a 3rd on the board for Human Tripwires.
I'm worried, okay? I'm going to say that off the bat. That round, to me, Hukars did not look confident at all. They played 3 towards A, like I said. They countered that pressure on A long, but they didn't really do too much with it. They took too long to retake on B. They lost a player to Stanley who was lurking on the hay bales. That round just didn't fill me with confidence. But again, remember what I said. Their win rate, their percentage, Hukars on this map, is only 29%. So it could be a very dominant half here from Human Tripwires.
4th round to follow. Hukars, again, allocated just an upgrade in weaponry, right? It's the pick and mix round, I like to call it, where some people are on Sheriff, some people are on Choice, Stingers, you know. you kind of just, you know, just pull it out the hat, see what you get. You kind of stuck with whatever you get, right? And in this case, it's about saving money for the future, thinking about the lead up into sort of round 5, round 6, where you are going to bring out your Vandals and your Phantoms. You are maybe even thinking about an op, maybe on Mishu, who's kept a lot more money than the rest in terms of credits. And, well, there you go. That's a great start. Blind, stun, doesn't matter what you throw at Mishu. We'll find the opening frag. Still has that dash ready as well, but Polvi's spidey senses tingle, blast down the jet through the wall. Not to mention, Stanley has done a brilliant job in executing a few of these players on the lurks. Eccles is going to chime into the kill feed as well. And just like that, you know, it started with a bit of a threat with that shorty finding success, but Akimbo and Mars now kind of left in no man's land. 2v4, and Eccles will have his 3-piece. Really nice accuracy there with the Vandal. And the early advantages of Human Tripwires now going to start to show, because Hukars will find themselves at a deficit financially.
You mentioned pick and mix, and I'm really craving some pick and mix.
Yeah,
I hate to, yeah.
It's the issue.
I know. Please don't mention food again. But no, like you said, Mishu got a nice pick, and it was nice to see him use his smoke actually to try to not get revealed from the fade eye. But again, I know that they didn't invest much into that round, but again, that round didn't really give me much confidence. And this is the round that I think is going to potentially make or break the half. This map is all about momentum. And look at this. We've already got Eccles teleporting into heaven by using his ult. But Mast is so aware. Mast is aware. Yeah. But look, the space that's been made just from that ult. just from the ult. You're going to have a tiny little battle here. And it does look like Eccles is... Oh,
What a flash.
wow. What a flash.
That's a 6-set piece. Polvy's screaming at Eccles, just wait a second. I'll flash, you take the peek. You can take the contact. And of course, Neural Theft now being brought out by Radsky. And obviously the double ping, that's one of the changes. Quite recent in terms of the Cypher, of course, is now you get the information twice over, delayed to the second. It's a great flash. Mishu on the site, nose press to Polvy as Human Tripwires now man advantage after man advantage, as Eps will find himself another, and it's a Kimbo against 3. It was a really nice setup from Mishu. You thought they had a chance. A Kimbo wiped out by Stanley's Phantom, and that's 5 consecutive for Human Tripwires.
That is so sad. It's so difficult to see what actually flashed Mishu at the end of his dash, but him being blinded just then, honestly, was the turning point of that round. It was him and Polvy holding hands on default, and it clearly, here we are, look. It was the flash under that got him. It's so unfortunate because that was the turning point of the round. Not to mention, though, it was a fantastic seize from Eps. It stopped them coming out CT to help Mishu on default. That's a nice attempt at taking the retake. Oh,
Response from Mishu. Early doors, bringing out the knives, and certainly will deliver. Stanley gonna have to watch for the rest of this round from teammates POV. Hookahs, of course, yet to score at a 5-0 scoreline. I think, you know, some concerns certainly there now, right? The last 2 full buys you've had, you've kind of been wrecked a little bit. You haven't really had a chance to make a retake work, or if you have, it's been left quite late in the round. Radsky, he's using the camera on the other side of the map to pick up the info towards C, but actually, they want to get inventive. They're going to gamble stack towards A.
No, but this is good, right? I'm not sure who the IGL is for Hookahs exactly, but I do want to mention how nice this is. They're aware that Human Tripwires do sometimes send someone out solo, okay? And obviously, Eccles was spotted on the camera. He was in cubby. And what Hookahs have done is read this, and they've gone to stack A. And look, here we go. It's going to be another set piece from Human Tripwires.
Sending it in, trying to create the space. Stinger going to be blind. Radsky wants to pop at least something to give him some defense, some form of manipulation against the grain of play. The Stinger will find the first. 15 seconds left. They've got to get a move on to get this spike down, but Human Tripwires, excuse me, cool, calm, and collected as they just sweep towards the site, and they are taking their time in these fights. Akimbo now 1v3, very manageable. They have a low HP, 83 on Eccles as well. Maybe some shield behind as well to work with. You can see flashing in front of us. That Trip going to be difficult to work against, and a smoke in his face certainly does not enhance the odds of him winning this round. Looking to maybe chain these ones up and see if he can slip into his own form of attack, and well, he is good for the initial engagement, but you know, finite angles, you're going to get spammed out one way or another. 2 players from Human Tripwires survive. It's a closer round that Hookah's put up here, but it still falls the way of the attackers.
Do you know what's funny? I actually did think that was a Tripwire, but it wasn't. I do believe it's actually the lasers that turn on sometimes.
Yeah, of course.
Because I was like, wait, why is that Trip so high? And then when you mentioned it, I was like, no, wait, it's the lasers.
I was baited just, if not more than you. You at least like had a few brain cells to put that one together. I was stumped as to what was happening there. I thought that Trip was like, you know, so high up in the air. I was like, you know, you're trying to tag the giant, you know, is it going to be...
He's trying to tag the hill giants from RuneScape. That's what it is.
Maybe.
That's what it is. But we do see a Hookah's timeout, and I think this is maybe 1 round too late, maybe 2 rounds too late, but it's nice to see the timeout because something has got to change. They showed? Is shoe a word?
No, I don't think it is.
Okay. That's just...
Shoe is like, you know, when you want something to go away. Shoe, you know, it's not...
Yeah, no, that's just me and my vocab being absolutely dreadful. They showed some form of at least initiative that round. They stacked onto the A site. Yes, it didn't work in their favor because of just such a nice set piece from Human Tripwires. But this timeout, I'm hoping, and I say I hope, because again, my confidence levels are quite low right now. I do hope that something has been called to counter this A aggression, which if you look at the pings on the map, it is. I think we're going to see Mishu go short and try and get a kill from Mask's stun.
Dash. Ineffective. Eccles puts one to rest. Yet again, it's Omen on the entries. Eccles is doing a brilliant job in sort of taking different fights, different ranges, different heights, Elevation, his friend in this engagement as well as David. Well, yeah, he's going to be blinded, and Eccles doing that too. If only he had a bit of utility to flush him out of the angle, would have been nice. Radsky, of course, playing on the camera, allowing one to dash by. It's going to be overlooked by the rest, but you thought maybe you could have gone for more than one. Epps will put him to rest at least towards C. Neural Theft now being deployed for the attacking side of things, just so they can see how Hookahs reacts. And of course, Eccles, never comfortable playing on a site, always wanting to lurk, always wanting to put at least an attempt of a retake to bed, and he will find another. A 1-for-1 is good here for the Tripwires, as it is just a Kimbo left. And Devo will have him down as well. It's 7-0, a really dominant performance out of the Tripwires to begin. Hookahs, you said it right, they used that tactical timeout. You're just hoping, praying that they put something together. And it's just another round where, I mean, it's not on Radsky for not killing at least two, but having the information, you thought he was going to be the man to make the play.
Yeah, this right here on the replay is actually quite important. Radsky was lucky to get one just there. And that's me being generous. Yes, he did headshot Epps and put him very low, but the fact that we actually didn't have Devo or Epps clearing that left tight corner is kind of wild. You know, you have the dash where I guess he did look right, and I'm not too sure what happened with Epps clearing that corner. Maybe it was I don't know. Well, I guess it's human error. But again, it's these set pieces, right? Which I mentioned at the start. I mentioned that the fade pickup versus the sober pickup is going to be so powerful, because you can clear all the corners with fade, right? If you want to go somewhere, you can easily clear the corners.
Minute left in this one. Human Tripwires, known for their initiative, known for kind of the mid-round calling. This one, I want to take slower than ever. I think Mishu understanding maybe that there is going to be a trip. Oh, nice bit of movement. Get over the top of it. No one's going to be seeing it. Devo, of course, dropping.
This is
util.
Mishu
trying to
has
cancel out.
such a position here, because they're not going to expect this. They're not going to expect it. Look at him.
Oh no,
Mishu.
Close your eyes. Okay, we'll find one. Not terrible. Expecting more than that. Eccles running right through. Going to be stunned, but still gets away with the frag. Mishu delivering again. Eccles going to go for a TP. Tries to get the peek towards C. Human Tripwires met with a lot of resistance in this round. Hookahs definitely can find themselves around on the board. It is 3v3. Not to mention, Eccles low, and Stanley overfacing. Devo will find a first, trying to spam away here. Akimbo, got to be careful, swings out. Devo will find a second, and it's all on Mishu. 1v1, Eccles near sight, knows that nobody's on the spike. We'll hear it tapped again, but does decide to hold. X-ray goes off in real time. Eccles again. Of course it is. Who better to land the shot than the big man himself? Human Tripwires, narrow margins, but they scrape together an 8th.
The adaptation there from Human Tripwires was so nice. They try and hit C, and I think one of the main things that stops people hitting C is that smoke that you can put between platform and between default, because it just shuts off so much space you can take, and especially as an Omen, and like you see it commonly from Astros as well. You can play in that smoke, and you're always at the advantage when you're in a smoke versus when someone's walking into the smoke. You know, you have that advantage. It's unfortunate for Hookahs. They had such a nice setup already for C, but again, you have to give credit to Stanley. We didn't see it. Oh, and it's so sad. They tried bringing something out. They know that taking A pressure has been an issue. They put out the operator, and Mishu just gets his head taken clean off from Devo.
See, Fade Util going to be used to gut out a lot of these angles. David.
Oh.
On the hop, yeah.
See, he knows that's a fake. He knows that's a fake. He didn't see anyone push. He saw the stun. He saw the flash. And now you watch Hookahs. You watch them now, at least hopefully, try and play for the C defense. Retakes haven't been successful. Yes, you only have 4 people. But, I don't know. I think this is going to be very difficult.
Look at this. All of the ults brought out in this round. It's everything lobbed towards the C site defense. Still 35 seconds though, so Human Tripwire's got time to react, and Stanley off the back of it will find all the kills. In fact, just come in. Human Tripwires, they don't care what's thrown at them. They don't care what Hookahs are doing to gamble, stack, and getting info. They'll just wander right in. No response. A really nice mid-round call right off the back of the double ult. The double util being used for human Tripwires. They just wander on in and they find all the kills. It's an easy round. And again, a really nice overhead to how they play this one out. Look at this, right? They have a player holding to the left, 2 players swinging round to the right. It's just about trading, and they knew as soon as they had the numbers game, they're always going to beat Hookahs in that position. It's 9-0.
That's one thing I haven't touched on right yet, and I think that was the turning point of that round. It's the ults coming out from Masks and from David as well. They used them. Oh, what a shot from Masks! Devo's just had his head clean off.
Ratsky can't find anything. Eccles yet again, the man that's just taken all the fights right now. 2 points of health and he finds himself another. Hookahs have delivered, and Eccles will fall. Mishu to drop him. Is this going to be the first here? It's Stanley against 3. David, not the healthiest. Mast tagged up a tad, but certainly not going to be out of this round just yet. You can see.
There's that Tripwire.
Maybe just clearing the angle. Yeah, funny looking one this time, but
It's a green one.
nicely done from Stanley. Scoops up the spike, able to get away as well. Problem is, like, Hookahs won't know about this until the cage goes down. Now the penny drops. Wait, he's got it. And Stanley taps the spike towards C. Wants to incentivize a Hookahs peak. He'll tap it a second, and they are just waiting to hear the noise in their ears saying that it's down. But Stanley has other plans. He taps it towards C, wants to move elsewhere.
This is so smart, but again, it's smart from Hookahs. Hookahs are playing this perfectly. I can't lie to you. They're playing as a 3. They're playing for the trade. They do not want to throw their most winnable round, and they are still confident that he is going to be hitting the C site. And I want to quickly mention something. Stanley picked up a trap. Now, this could be
10 seconds left.
something that wins him the round. That trap could potentially get him a free kill right now, because I don't think they're going to be aware of that trap. Or he's using it for information, which I'm guessing he is, because everything I've said right now is just is void.
There you go. Set up, aggressive. Oh, watch out. Yeah, indeed. There is one there.
Checked.
Stanley, I mean, is walking towards long, so trying to play the retake game, trying to play a little smart, does have the neural theft as well. It's Mishu that sticks it.
God.
It's Stanley that comes from long. There's your first, but indeed it will be denied, and there is enough time on the spike to get the full defuse in. I'm wondering if they're going to switch it halfway. No. Yes, they will, indeed. I was going to say Mishu has the ult, so I don't see why they wouldn't. And indeed, that'll be the case. It is stuck out by Mast, and Hookahs on the board. It's better late than never. 3's the maximum here. Can they claim the rest?
Yeah, it would have been very sad for Hookahs. I think that would have been a mental break if they did lose that round. Losing a round to such a nice Sheriff headshot from Masks, that was the opener, right? Again, I've got to give credit to Human Tripwires. It's a nice attempt at a set play on the B site, a very fast, taking a link control B play, right? And I know there's going to be people at home seeing that kill, and they're going to be like, fix the stuns, you know, fix the stuns. But one thing people do forget is that the first shot is always accurate, right? And that was a one shot or you're dead. And he hit it. He hit it.
It's as easy as that. Just hit your shots. Remember
yeah,
that.
Remember
How to
that,
win
guys.
at Valorant, step 1, hit your shots.
Maybe that's where I'm going wrong.
I certainly am there as well, don't worry. I think you're not the only one. I'm with you there. Mishu, I like this. Hookahs starting to get a little more inventive, a little more aggressive on these peaks. It's the Jet that wanders out in the middle of the map to try and halt any progression towards Garage here. A second trip now picked up upon. Human Tripwires have done brilliantly in basically dismissing all of this Cypher utility, and not to mention David. Oh, this is scary. Oh, shot from Mars, but the problem is now there's 2 players there. Do they expect the Cypher of Stanley to be so far aggressed here? No. I mean, the opportunity is there, but the timing, do you really expect it? Well, it doesn't matter because David's found another 2. Eccles will find a response, and again, we always know Human Tripwires, they've got a response for everything, Stanley. Oh dear, Eccles against 4, has the TP, waits a few seconds, now pops it, wants to make them think about it. Is he going to head towards C? Is this just a fake? And I mean, they'll check their angles, but Eccles indeed now does have the edge. He plants, and it's now 1v3.
I am not counting Eccles out right now. Although this smoke, if it was planted, he's gonna get pre-fired here. I'm kind of positive. I mean, maybe. I think especially after doing this second one. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the thing about this, it's a nice attempt from Eccles, right? But if Eccles had planted to the left of that box, right, it would act as like a one-way for long. But then, from the positioning who cars were playing from, they know that he wasn't playing long, right? But there's not much you can do in that situation. He was very low. Eccles was super low. Good. He was good to get the bomb down. I wanted, sorry, to see Stanley do something a bit more there. You know, in his head, he's thinking, okay, they're most likely holding me from CT. I've got to be careful here. And the play was to take short, right? As long as you guys can clear short, we have sight. I have a deep position. But after losing a couple of players short, I think Stanley should have adapted, you know, like Bear Grylls says, adapt, overcome. I swear there's one more. I swear there's one more.
Improvise.
Improvise, that's the one. I wanted to see something from Stanley there. It looked a little bit dry, you know? You made the first play, where's the second? But it looks like they are going to be doing another set piece, and it's on to the C site.
Yeah, again, just taking aggression. Just want to send it in, you know, they're mixing it in with these slower rounds. Stanley, of course, lurking. Mishu's knives could be taking out this round very quickly if they're a bit too cautious of these angles. You know, every second spent trying to clear out the lurk is a second not spent retaking the site. And so, Mishu, enough is enough. We'll find the first. Knives don't collect. Stanley hit twice, and here we go. Neural theft being deployed. Rollin as well, going to be brought out as David will find Evo. So, information for both teams. Obviously, that spike planted for long. You can see ping from the attacking side. They're understanding exactly where it is, but it's actually a stick, but Epps will put it to rest for now, and a swing from CT. He's masked out of the equation as well. It's a multi-pronged hold on the spike right now. It doesn't matter what utility you use. Stanley's in behind, Stanley's kicking, and Radsky will fall to the hands of Eccles. It's a 10th on the board for the human Tripwires. Double digits in the first half. They've made this look impressive.
It's such a nice plan on C site. I can't lie. You saw Eccles do it when he was in that 1v3 the round prior. But being able to get the bomb down in that situation when you are, you know, or sorry, not when you are, when you do have that many people alive, it's such you can be garage, you can be long, and you can be CT. You can be quite literally everywhere for this open plan. And as you see, it went in their favor. It literally went in their favor, that plant. I think the round probably could have gone a little bit different if it was more of like a default plant and just for long. But you got to give props. I think I spoke it into existence. Stanley, he got that kill on some Mishu. Mishu, dead, middle. What does Stanley do? He goes that extra mile, takes that extra space, and it works out for him. Oh, look at this fast play on pistol round from Devo.
Yeah, look, it's not even aggression at this point. It's disrespect. Human Tripwires know they've had them beat in every engagement. Mishu into no man's land. Polvi waiting on the other side of the smoke will take him down. And 5 versus 3. They've extrapolated all the information that they need to on the defense. Early push towards C. Only the one player there. Picked up some information towards B. Likelihood is, you know, either they're piling in towards A or they are just going with the rest of their team. And you can see Polvi already set up for the defense towards Garage. Mars might wander out, but Eccles should have this one read into. Will indeed spot out the man. And now, of course, deploying the smoke gives him a little bit more cover to work with as well. Still the best part of the minute here for Hookahs, but yes. And a great ding for Devo on top of that as well. Akimbo, 37 points of health. Radsky thinks he's got it read, and a great response amidst the flashbang. But indeed, numbers favour the greater, and it's human Tripwires 4 versus 2.
It's this smoke. It's what I'm telling you. They can't take back site control. There's no space for them to take. There is a mini skirmish here with Radsky who does fall, and then Akimbo falls on site as well. That's now 11 on the board for human Tripwires, and I'm not going to lie. Ooh, I think if this was a ranked game, you'd have GG go next in chat.
Easy pickup. Human Tripwires, I mean, look at this, right? 2 rounds away from making it stick and finding themselves a first map, which... Difficult to kind of pick apart Hookahs. You may be expecting a better performance out of them. And listen, you know, pre these roster changes that human Tripwires have made, I don't think it's a terrible scoreline. Like, for them, they're going to be very, very happy. For Hookahs, you kind of expect a little bit more out of them, right? Like, even amidst these changes, it's only a finite amount of time that the new roster would have had together. 2 rounds is a bit embarrassing to see in the first map. There's no doubt that they can turn it around, right? If there's a team that you want to believe in to make these results work, it would be Hookahs, but Human Tripwires right now just seem to have all the numbers and all the reads.
So sad. That's just so sad, though. They've had to opt in for the Force this round, and we are not 30 seconds into the round, or just about, and they've already lost 2 people. The flash comes out from Eccles, all blinded. He gets 1, he gets 2, he turns around, and he gets the transfer. It's just sad. It's just really sad seeing this. And you mentioned these roster changes. I want to wrap back to a point that I mentioned in our, just before the game started. It's the experience from these players. Has that given them the edge? Obviously, like I said, Eccles being the man with the most experience. But then, it's incredible, right? That transfer onto that last person.
Yeah.
But is the experience the thing that's giving them the edge on this? Or is it just, unfortunately, a bad map from Hookahs?
It's a difficult pill to swallow. Of course, they're going to give it their best efforts in what could be the last round of this first map here. Mishu dashing in and trying to take some control towards A-Link. And as you can see, probably calling for a flash. Indeed, let's set it up. Polvi now going to be blinded and basically forced away from any form of retake. Mishu's run really deep in towards spawn right now. Devo will find the opening frag. It's Radsky that is removed. 5 versus 4. Human Tripwires now just really have to make this one stick. A game of trades is enough to take them to the finish line. Stun going to be used. It's still a stick out of the Human Tripwires. It's still a stick out of the Human Tripwires. No one's stopping it right now. And the rest is history. It's an injured defuse, arguably. But either way, it is one way to top a very, very nasty scoreline. A disrespectful one. As Human Tripwires, a new 5 and a new passion. They've got themselves map 1.
That's sad to see. I'll be honest, it's super sad to see, because a map like Haven can go to the end. A map like Haven, we've seen it before, it really can go to overtime, especially when I said that this is like a local derby. You expect them games to be closer than it was, and I just don't think, such a nice 2K there from Polvi, I just don't think, Devo, sorry, I don't think that Hookahs showed any form of confidence. At all.
Felt like Human Tripwires kind of had their number the entirety of the attacking side, right? The mid-rounding was excellent. They always had a counter to any utility that was kind of tossed towards them. They always had a read, always had the plan that it felt like Hookahs lacked on their defensive side, right? Like, it wasn't until I feel like round 10, round 11 where we started to see Hookahs get aggressive, right? We saw the Jet move up middle. We saw entry frags actually happening for Hookahs and establishing these 4-on-5s that Human Tripwires have to work back from. But it is just really sad to see that, of course, at the end of the day, despite everything thrown the way of Human Tripwires, a 13-2 scoreline is how we end things in map 1. And a pretty distasteful performance maybe from Hookahs. You can see the stats there. Eccles, map MVP, you're damn right. He deserved it. Yeah. He had an unbelievable stint, especially in that first half. He was able to put together everything, and whatever he did just stuck.
Yeah, it's funny to see how Human Tripwires actually kind of worked this game, because you noticed a lot of the time it was Eccles and Stanley who were trying to get timings on different sites. They kind of had like 2 lurkers, but I think that's because they were so confident on what Devo can do with his teammates getting him onto site. Right? As much as Eccles had such an impact on that game, you do have to give it to the team as a whole for how they did their set pieces onto sites. Because how many times did it fail when they were trying to get onto the A site? You had the breach stun, you had the aftershock, you had Faye clearing all the corners, you had the reveal, and Jet was always there, Devo was always there to get a free kill back site. And there was a couple of times when you thought, oh boy, okay, this is actually good, this might the tide might change, but it didn't. And it's just nice to see this roster from Human Tripwires seriously showing what they're made of.
Context, of course, this is a best of 3. So Human Tripwires, although they win the first map, there's still 2 more to go. Quite possibly that Hookahs could take both. A quick question to you before we head to it. Head to the break. What do you think they need to do between maps?
They need to have a serious think about confidence, I think. And this is one big thing going into official games. And I mean, I don't really expect it from Hookahs, but they've been together a long time and they should have that confidence. But I think trying to go for that early pick is going to be quite vital. I think trying to use utility around Mishu, and Mishu being like, let me go here, let me go there, let me get that first pick. Let's try and play a 5 versus 4 every single round. And most of the time when you get into a 5 versus 4 situation, you shouldn't lose the round, right? So I think that's what needs to happen. I think that's what needs to happen.
Yeah, show a lack of respect, right? Show that aggression. Show what you've got in the back pocket. For Hookahs, they need a desperate time here on map 2. Can they make it work? We'll find out after this.